So, let's start. Okay, so this is a meetup organized by DSC SSA, which is Developer Student Clubs for Sub-Saharan Africa. And today we're going to have our speakers joining us today is Alexandra White from Google. Hi, Alex. How you doing? And also Gideon. And our moderator today will be Godwill Okon. And I'm going to just give it to Godwill Okon to take it from here and give us an insight of what this meetup is all about. Godwill, are you there? Can you hear me?
I think it's my okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody from Nigeria. Today we are continuing the series that is being initialized by the DSC community, in particular the ex-DSCs. We have a series where we hold series of virtual meetups. In also accordance to the pandemic and for the fact that we can't really have our physical meetups no more. So we are seeing this opportunity to always try to hold our weekly virtual meetups. So today we'll be talking about technical writing, and I can't wait for the awesome speakers. First off, we will have Shegun coming talking about the importance of writing technical documentations. Shegun.
Okay. Hi. All right. So let me pick up my slides. Let me present now. Give me a sec. New Chrome tab. Okay. So I'll be talking about the importance of technical writing or writing technical documentation. My talk is just going to be straightforward and quite short. So yeah, my name is Shegun Olumide. I'm a technical writer at Sterling. I've been working there for a year now. Yeah, I'm also a UX designer and a community lead for DSC as well. So let's get straight to it, shall we? So first question is, what is technical writing? The traditional definition is technical writing is a practice of documenting process such as software manuals or instructional materials. Traditionally, it's just limited to user manuals of some sort. So it was just a straightforward text of a software. But now it's like, it's broader now. It doesn't just, technical writing doesn't just involve documenting software. It's about also getting the user to, or a developer, a client or user to actually understand what your product is about and get easy access to use it. So it makes it clearer for anybody coming to like visit your product for the first time and do not understand what to do or what to go about it. Now, technical writing or technical writers can make it easier for the audience to actually get easy access. So it doesn't just involve text, also video tutorials, guides, how-tos, and also onboarding. So I'm going to talk about like 3 categories. My own form, the way I do it is I just categorize into 3 documents. So the first one is, so the 3 is UI docs, that is user interface documents, developer docs, and deployment docs. I'm going to break it down in bits. Can everyone hear me? Is everyone fine?
Yes, I can hear you.
If you can hear me, okay. So let's start with UI docs. UI docs, as it says here, is the documentation that has to do with the UI, the user interface. And this involves, like, I could give an example of maybe Twitter, for example. There will be like a UI doc that shows how to use Twitter, what each component are for, what the send button is, how to get to settings, anything that has to do with the interface, anything that has to do with what you see and how to use it. So that's what the UI docs is entails. And the developer docs. The developer docs is mostly for developers who want to use your technology be it your APIs or your source code. So examples of places you can check out for developer docs is if you check out React, you see it there, or Angular, or Vue, or even GCP. You check out their documentation, you see how to use it. So they provide you with not just like the code to just you go and figure it out yourself. They provide you with how to do it one step at a time. So that is what developer docs mainly like entail. And for deployment docs, so deployment doc basically deals with the testing, how to test or like prototype. It gives you shows you prototypes, so how to test the technology or your code. Or I say I want to make a button, for example, that bounces. Yeah, I create the code and send it out and I document it. But I want to know how to actually test this thing and see if it works without me like building all this myself. So I can just create a place where you could just quickly test it and see how it works. So it makes it easier for you to understand and to see it like being tested. So that's what the deployment does. Like that's what the deployment entails. So the testing, the how to, even it also involves tutorials too on how to actually go about it and using it. The next one will be yeah. So this is an example. So these are examples of websites that have rich technical documentations. One is developer docs. You can check that at developer.google.com. Another example is React. You go to React website, React.js, you see their documentations also that explains all those three categories I mentioned. And also Unsplash is one of them. Unsplash is a website for getting like open source pictures, free pictures to like apply to your apps. And they also have APIs that you can use and implement for it to your own apps and use it for free. So go check that out and learn from them as well. So why is technical writing so important? I'm going to explain this based on how I see that, my experience so far. So why technical writing is so important? For me, it keeps things easy to track and follow. Why I say this is because informations are clustered everywhere. I mean, like you will not know like what to do or where to find your answers if you do not like get the answer directly in front of you. So I might be looking for just one feature, how to use one feature on your product or your code, how to use your code, and then you don't have a documentation for that. But I just see the whole code. I don't know what to do with it. How can I like use it? So if I like I say history of what you have, like you have previous documentations that you've done before, I could also even follow up. It also deals with I can give you an example of version control. So I have a 1.0 of a particular. It's going through. Can you guys hear me? Can I actually hear myself?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can actually hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So say I have version 1.0 of a particular software, right? And I have it documented. And I then launch a 2.0 with a new document. For those who are using the 1.2, I want to like get to know what has changed between 1.0 to 2.0, can easily go there and track it from the beginning. You can actually see how everything changed. See the old versions, know how to use it if you're still using old versions of the product. So it's easy to track and follow. Everything is properly documented. You can see it from beginning to the end. There's no like scattered information or knowing what is outdated and what is updated. You can clearly see how updated it is. Then number two, it provides effective technical documentation. This part is where it makes it easy for users to understand what you want to pass across. Yeah. So you are actually giving people enough information to understand what your code or what your software is all about. So you are communicating with them not just by writing documents. You are also sending out tutorials. You're also showing them guides. You're also showing a breakdown of what each one works. You're usually showing it, like showing test cases of how to use it, or even solving the problem. So giving examples of how to use each of them. You have to use a method, how to use an API. So those communications, it makes it very effective because you don't need to like start searching all around the website or checking different sites for a particular like solution. You could just go check documentation and you can find a solution to a problem you're looking for. So that's why I say it provides effective technical communication. It communicates better with even developers in their own jargon language. And the third is it provides a structured solution. So say we have I have an API, yeah, a new API I've done, and I didn't really document it, and I didn't really tell you how to make use of it. All I just need, okay, test this and go figure it out yourself. But I didn't tell you what are the dependencies, like what you will need to go like install, what are the things you need to set up to like get it to use, like to be able to use it. I did not even give you anything like that. All I just did is give the API and give you the meaning of what it does. But if I did not give you like a structured breakdown of how to use it, you will keep having problem of like figuring it out on your own. But if you just structure it in a way that it's well formatted and like updated and like structured in a way that people can follow, it like I'm still not creating like a solution for them because you are creating more problem. They have to figure out how your stuff works, and they also have to like search somewhere else to see people who has tried it and which like if it has worked out or not for them. If it hasn't worked, then you're in the mercy of somebody who is going to try out your own software. So that is basically what I'm talking about on number 3. And I think that's as short as it can be. Yeah, thank you. That's all about my talk. Thank you very much.
All right, that's great, Shegun. I'm sure we will have questions, and after we are done with the 3 different sessions, we are going to have our Q&A session where we're going to be asking questions. So if anybody has any question, you could just maybe write it down somewhere, and then we will attend to the questions. So as we all know, there are a lot of myths about technical writing. People have a lot of speculations, and there's a lot of unclear things about technical writing that people don't really know about. And today we will be having Alexandra White talking about the importance and should be demystifying the myth in technical writing. Hello, Alexandra.
Hello, it's so good to be here.
So good to have you today.
Yes, I'm ready whenever you are, and thank you again.
All right. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna take over presenting.
Yes.
Bear with me one moment. You see my slides?
Yes, your slide is up. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That is one thing that I'm going to report to talk to the presentation and Google Slides folks about. I wish that I could see that you all could see my slides. So hi, this is going to be a short talk about demystifying technical documentation myths. And my name is Alexandra. I'm a technical writer at Google. I've been at Google for about a year and a half. But before I was a technical writer and before I worked at Google, I was actually a web developer. I worked for a television station in New York City with 5 engineers, and they had been at their jobs for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years, which means I was helping support websites that were built in 1999. Really beautiful, super beautiful. And every time a new younger person would come and join the team, they would have to get ramped up, try and learn where everything lived, and quickly understand how we built websites. That was really frustrating because I had to talk to all of those engineers every time a new question came up, turn around and ask them, where do I find this information? Where do I find the code? What are the dependencies, etc.? And that's really unsustainable. It's really frustrating if there's a long historical legacy and no documentation at all. So it was my job, or I took it as my responsibility, to add documentation to all of our projects so that the next young developer who joined the team didn't have to take as long to get started. And before I talk more about myths, if you're here and you're a developer and you haven't done technical writing yet, I have really good news for you. You're already a writer. It doesn't mean that you're writing Shakespeare or that you're going to write the next Harry Potter series, but you are writing every single day. If you're on social media, if you write emails, anytime you put your fingers to your keyboard, you're creating words. So A++ for you. And especially in the last few months during the pandemic, when we've all been home, it's never been more important to adequately communicate via writing. So let's start talking about these myths. Good writers write a lot. I think a lot of people think about technical writing and they think about writers as people who write really beautiful prose, who spend a lot of time thinking about how to craft sentences, but good technical writing is concise. Some writers who were not concise. Let's go back to Shakespeare for a second. The play Hamlet. It exists, it has its place, it's beautiful, it is not technical writing. If the zombie apocalypse were to happen, if, zombies take over, people wouldn't spend a long time trying to explain what zombies are. They would yell, run, take cover, be concise. Don't use 5 words when one will do. Don't add a lot of descriptive language. If you are installing something, make sure to give just the information you need to install it. When you're documenting your code, remember who your audience is. Your audience doesn't necessarily know what you know. I think it's a problem that a lot of technical writers face and that a lot of developers face. There's this thing called the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge means it's really hard to get outside of what you already know. So if you have the experience in something, it's hard to remember what it's like for somebody who doesn't have that experience. But if you're writing documentation that will be seen by anyone who is not you, you have to get to know your audience, know what they know, so you can create the best possible instructions for them. It's very possible that somebody who will be maintaining your product after you've left a job, or somebody, if you put your coding project online open source, that the new person who comes to it won't have any experience in your code base and know little to nothing about the methods it was built in. Just because somebody is really smart and well-informed in what their specialty is, doesn't mean they know anything about what you do or your work. So do some research, learn about your audience. Internally at Google, we call it CUJs, Customer User Journeys, and we map out who these people are so that we can best provide information for them. And similar to that process, it's important to get feedback before you release your writing. I think there's there's this myth that once you're done writing, you publish it, you can walk away, there's documentation. In some ways, great. You did step one, you got some documentation out into the world, but it's going to be so much better if you seek feedback. You probably wouldn't release code if it was for like a big product or releasing a new mobile app without seeking additional help, seeking feedback. When I was learning how to code, I read a lot of tutorials and tried to accomplish certain learning goals. Sometimes the tutorials were not written well, and I was very fortunate that I worked in a place where I could turn around to my colleagues and say, hey, what does this actually mean? What information is missing? If you're writing documentation, it's great to rely on your friends and rely on your fellow developers to get more information and to edit your documentation to say, hey, it looks like you missed the step of you have to install a certain language, or you have to make sure that you have a solid Wi-Fi connection if you're downloading something. All of these little details matter. Another myth, users will do everything that you tell them to do. Users are great. Sometimes they don't listen or read the documentation that you write. You can do everything in your power to give users all of the tools, and sometimes they're going to miss steps. When I was 11 years old, I decided that I wanted to make chocolate brownies, and there was a pre-made box mix. The great thing about box mixes is they say you mix in 3 things: water, oil, and 1 egg. I didn't read it correctly, and I missed adding the egg to the mix. And out of my oven came terrible, terrible bricks of chocolate. So bad I didn't want to eat them, which is sad because, you know, what kid doesn't want to eat sweet treats? But even though the box was correct and the instructions were correct, I didn't read it. I wasn't paying attention. Your job is to make sure that they have all the tools to pay attention. Our documentation is really important, if not more important than making edible brownies. Make sure that your readers have all the tools to succeed, because they might go back and realize, oh, I missed something, and be able to carry on. If the information was never there to begin with, if the step about an egg was never on that box, the brownies never could have worked. And the last myth, if you think that you can write docs when you're done coding, like I'm just gonna build this project and then when I'm done, I'll get to the documentation. I think a lot of the time we then have to move on to our next project. It's time to move our focus somewhere else. Documentation doesn't become a priority that way. But the best time to write your documentation is while you're coding. Write comments in your code. Write a description of the project that will live in a README file that goes with your project. Do all of these things while you're coding, and you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches, a lot of time. And when the project's done, it will be done. You can, you know, not have to worry about an additional thing later. That's all. Thank you. I have a lot of tools and templates and information about technical writing at that link, and I'm happy to, I look forward to your questions in the Q&A section.
All right, great. That was an awesome talk. Looking forward to the question sessions. All right, so next up we'll be having Gideon giving us a talk about the UX of me. Gideon, are you on the call?
Hi, yes, I am.
Yeah, you're up now.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
I would like to share my screen. 1 minute. 1 minute. Sorry.
Anyone with some background music?
Okay, can you also my screen?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
yes, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So, my talk is not really about writing. It's kind of related, and I had to speak on something that everybody in all career profession can relate to. So I'll be talking about the UX of me, quote, the user experience of me, focusing on career optimization through design thinking. And I'm referencing from the book, The UX of Me by Chris Jones. It is a very awesome book that you guys can check it up later. Yeah. So first, with so much to think about to just get the job done day in, day out, very few of us take time to consider what's the real purpose or come up with a plan for our career. So a lot of us work day to day. We wake up in the morning, go on to Asana or Jira to check up tasks that has been assigned to us. We try to kill the tasks before the end of the day. At the end of the month, we want people to like praise us for doing a job well done. Yeah, but we haven't really. Most of us don't actually take the time to think about our career, our career ladder, our career step, or what we want our career to be like. What we think the next step for us should be. So that's why I came up with this talk that talks about the user experience of me. So before I move on here, I'll define user experience design is the process of developing and improving the quality of interaction between a user and all facets of the company. So user experience, anything that we use, that we interact with, that solves a problem for us is user experience. So how can we UX involves a person's emotion and attitude about using a particular product, system, or a service. So what if we apply the discipline of user experience to ourselves? Could we use it to help us interact better with others, harnessing the techniques of design thinking to improve our value as employees and ultimately make us more useful and effective? So in user experience design, there's what we call design thinking. Design thinking is the process that goes through a product, starting from empathy to the final stage of the products. That's the development and testing. Yeah. So if we can shift the focus of design thinking away from product and put it to ourselves, how can we be more effective and how can we be more useful in our career, in our day-to-day life? So which makes me come up with a five-step approach for the UX of me method. We have observation. That's observation based on evaluating our strengths and weaknesses at work and in our career, in how we interact with people. Uh, we have inspiration, like we imagine ways to change our behavioral attitude for positive results. Same thing as ideation in design thinking. We have testing and revision that where we try out few strategies, seeing what works and fine tuning what works to fit our goals in our career. We have action that and then the reevaluation. The evaluation focuses more on ensuring a continuous cycle of improvement, a continuous cycle of improvement in our career step. So because of time, we are just going to touch each of these points. First of all, observation. So to for observe ourselves, we have to take note of three things. one, we have to know ourselves. Yeah, we know. We have to know where we stand in our current career, where we are in our current state of career. Are we growing? Are we stagnant? Are we moving forward or backward? It is very important to know ourselves. Secondly, we know what you are doing, like how clear is what you are expected to do day to day. Do you have a job description where you joined? Do you know your job description? When you knowing what you are doing, it has to be a combination of both hard skills and your soft skills, like your responsibilities and your the need to meet with more abstract qualities and describe our personality is very important. Then number three, we have to know what others expect from us. So we have to think of our surroundings, like who are the people that surround our everyday work? What pressure do they face? What pressure do they face? What part do they play in our life and in the company process? Who relies on you? Are you a leader? Are you someone that follows others? So when we know what others expect from us, we are one step closer to becoming to moving to the next level of our career. Then the last one is identifying our strengths and weakness. When it comes to identifying our strength and weakness, it, we have to picture ourselves. We have to paint a picture of our current situation and see our strengths, our weakness, our opportunities and threats. So it brings me to the next slide that talks about SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So in design thinking, we have to look at the problem of the user, why we are solving the problem, who we are solving for, and what we are solving. The same thing applies to our life. We have to look at our strengths, our weakness, opportunities, and threats, which have come onto the framework from the book that highlights the questions we need to ask ourselves to know what we are doing. So under strength, if we could answer these following questions under strength, what is it that you do well? Why do people seek your help? Where do you shine most? What makes you special? Each of these questions defines different aspects of our career. At we have to look at what we do best, where we excel most. Then we move to our weaknesses. What skill do we lack? What is your worst habit at work, in your career, or in interacting with people? How do you annoy others? Or what's your kryptonite? Like what things can you not stand? Then we move next to opportunity. Opportunities are things that can come up from our strengths. So do you have a champion? Is your company or business growing? Do you have a way to make a mark wherever you go? You are working for uh, wherever company you are working for. Do you have a way to make a mark that when you leave, people will know that yes, somebody actually worked in this company and made a mark? Is there a chance for a promotion? Now, this promotion is not just talking about promotion at work. What about in your own personal self? Do you think you are ready to move to the next level? Is there a chance for you to move to the next level of your career? Then we now have threats. Under trends, we answer the following question. Do you have a competitor? Is your business changing? Do people notice you? And are you a valuable person? So if we can feel this SWOT analysis of ourselves, it allows us take a deep observation to understand where we are currently in our career and where we are going. So this brings us a step closer to achieving what we want to become in our career ladder. Then the next um, process is inspiration, imagining ways to change your behavior or attitude for positive results. So we have to answer these three questions here. In an ideal world, what words would you like your boss or colleague to use when describing you? Don't say, oh, he's an awesome technical writer. She's really great at writing powerful documentations. How do you want people to describe you when they talk about you? You know, there is no limit to our imaginations. We have to open our thinking. We have to think outside the box. Then the second one, if anything were possible, what would be the highlight of your career in the next 3 years? In the next 3 years, what do you want people to say about you? And last one, which would be the dream company where you'd love to get a job? So these questions helps us think outside our current scope. When we think outside our current scope, we are inspired to want to do more and move to the next level in our career. Then we now strategize from the questions from the previous slide. The questions will now bring us to a more strategic way of being inspired, or being motivated here. So we have to have personal mission statements here, not the mission statement of the company you are working for, or not the mission statement of the clients you are working for. What is your own mission statement in your career? What is your mission in your career? Then your vision. What do you want to do in the nearest future? Then your value proposition, yeah, the goals you want to win, your the actions you must do, your individual task and key metrics. Yeah, you have to we have to be accountable for everything we do. Yeah, uh, we have to present value wherever we are. No, whatsoever company we work for, whatsoever people we interact with, let us present value. Then noting our key milestones, that what you have achieved so far and what you want to achieve is key. Then values. What are your values? Are you better at writing documentation? Are you better at writing tutorials? Are you confident? Your values is also very important in strategizing your next career plan. Then brings us to testing. So after doing the actions in the previous slide, yeah, we now try out few strategies. We see what works for us and then fine tune them to fit our goals. You must have listed your goals in the previous slide. So you have to improve your UX one step at a time. You should not try to do a lot of things at a time. We should improve our career one step at a time, which will help us better understand our goal. It will help us focus more on where we are going. You know, you write out something you will do or things you need improvements on. So this is a form of testing. When you okay, I want to improve writing my research skills. Like just begin to challenge yourself and try out expanding your scope and see the outcome of it. Yeah. Then the next one is the action. So uh, now that we have an idea of the previous step, what we have to do next is act. We can't just strategize and create a plan and not act on it. So to act, you have to have three things in mind. You have to know what motivates you. What is your driving force? Is it love? Is it fear? Is it money? Is it passion? Whatever drives you, you have to know what motivates you. Second is positive feedbacks. Yeah, we have to give ourselves positive feedbacks. We have to request feedback from people. We have to act on these feedbacks that we get. And finally, we have to set our goals. Yeah. What do we want to achieve in the next 1 year in my career? Okay, in the next 2 years, I want to be a senior technical writer at Google. In the next 2 years, I want to be the lead technical writer at Amazon. So we set our goals and work towards it. Then finally, we reevaluate. Just like in design thinking, the process it does not stop. It is continuous. So evolution has no stop. Yeah, don't get too comfortable. Ultimately, the UX of you comes down to two questions. What do you really want to achieve and what's holding you back? If you can answer these two questions, we are we are on the right path to the next level of our career. Thank you. So you can find a reference on The UX of Me by Chris Jones. UX of Me by it's a very awesome book, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Kilaben. Thank you.
Wow, Gideon, that's a nice one. I must say, it's very insightful. Please, the speakers, it would be awesome if we can have the link to your slides in the comment section, so whoever is coming in later can always catch up. So we'll start with Shegun. You're the first speaker. So does anybody have? Let me check the question. Give me a second. Okay, we have one question here. Somebody said, is it a must that one has to have the knowledge of coding in order to do fine in choosing a career in technical writing? Alexandra, what do you think about this?
Sorry, I got a work message. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, okay, that's somebody's asking, is it a must that one has to have the knowledge of coding in order to do fine in choosing a career in technical writing? Do you need to be a developer to become a technical writer?
No, you don't. That's a great myth that actually I should have also added to the slide deck. There are lots of my colleagues. In fact, on my team, there are 6 writers and no one else was a developer or has any coding experience at all. I think it depends on what kind of technical writer you are. There's also a bunch of technical writers who do science technical writing and medical technical writing. It's a job that spans all fields. You don't ever need to have coded. That said, if you do work in software, it's very useful to try and learn the language so that you can have a better conversation with your developers.
Okay, fine. Has the question been answered? I think it's pretty much answered to me. Shengo, I have one question for you. So what are the 5 key things? Shengo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So what are the 5 key things that you should not miss when writing a technical documentation for, let's say, an API, or let's say a new framework or a library? What are the things that we should not miss? Like,
Okay. First things first, look out for typos. Always check, review your documents every time. Like first time, check it. Second time, I always make sure I review it before you actually publish. Make sure you review it. And that's one. 2, you should have a format that you work with. If your company doesn't have one for you, just have one that you work with. So that's the way people can follow, can know how your document is structured. 3, when considering writing a documentation, you have to think about your audience. What message do you want to pass across? What do you want your audience to know about? So just doing that alone, will give you a better insight on what you need to document. And also think about the purpose. Why are you writing this in the first place? So without that, there is no point. Then the 5th one I might add, what will be the 5th one? The 5th one will also be, when you're documenting, I will use that UX of me case, right? That UX of me case. I want you to put yourself in the audience shoes. And when you're done, just go back, become the audience for once, and try and you check your own documents and see if it's going to be useful for them. If something they can easily access. You could also use someone else to check out your document and see if it's well presentable and easy to understand. So yeah, that's what I have.
All right. All right, we have our next question for Gideon. Gideon, you mentioned about getting positive feedbacks. So, if somebody that's, how do you get these positive feedbacks? What medium do you use? How do you go about getting positive feedbacks? So, we'd love to know about that, or you could throw more light on it.
Yeah. So the best way to get feedback from people is by asking. Some a lot of people wouldn't just work, hey, I have feedback for you. But when you ask and you ask people for feedbacks, and when you ask, be specific of the type of feedback you want. Not just any random feedback, like feedback concerning your rights, your write up. It was very awesome. That was great, awesome. Well, you need something that is constructive, feedbacks that will help you be like, okay, you have a very great nice up, and it would be nice if you could next time implement this and this and this and that.
Okay, so
Basically,
more
yeah.
constructive feedback. All right. So do you like have a format of this feedback? Like if you're giving maybe, for example, you're sending a form, do you like have a format you want this person to talk about? So you want one person to pick out errors, one person to talk about what you should have done better. What is your format like of a positive feedback?
Yeah, so my format is like, hi Alex, check this out. Okay, something like, hi Alex, I'm doing a weekly feedback on myself. What do you have for me? Things I'm looking out for. Say communication, pertaining to work and pertaining to how I interact with people. It really depends on your personal goal. What you want might not be what I want, and what I want to know might not be what you want to know.
Okay. Um, so my next question goes to Alexandra. We would love to know.
Yeah, there's a question on the channel.
Yeah. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
All right. So Alexandra, I would love to know what is your writing process like? What are the things you do? Because for myself, for example, I I do write too. What I do is that I pick a particular topic and then I research on the topic on different perspective and angles, and then I have a jotter where I write some few points that I will elaborate. And then after that, I like writing on Dropbox paper. And then when I write on Dropbox paper, I take it over to Grammarly to check the typos and my tenses and all of that. And then I post on Medium or Dev2 or Hashnode. So I'd love to know what your writing process is like.
Sure. So it always depends on what I'm writing. If I'm writing documentation for a new feature, so the product I work on at Google is Google Ad Manager. It's the main users are large organizations and news sites, for example. And so I go to the subject matter experts and come with a list of questions. Let's back up a second. Once I learned what I'm supposed to be documenting, I try and read everything that exists about it. Then I go to the subject matter experts with questions to figure out what I'm missing so that I can be the most informed possible before I actually even start writing. I spend some time thinking about who is the audience? Who am I writing for? Do the people that I'm writing instructions for already know certain information? Or are they brand new users? Then I will write a draft, often in Google Docs, not surprising, or sometimes in a text editing file or text editing program like TextMate is the one that I use, and write a lot of notes. It's kind of a mess. Then I will go to the final place where I'm going to publish, be it our support website, or if it ends up being a technical blog post, Medium, I love Medium, or my own portfolio site, and then I organize that information. So the jumble of notes gets headers, bullet points, numbered lists, etc. Once it's all written, then I try and do an editorial pass. Grammarly is such a great tool for catching tenses and spelling mistakes, of which sometimes I accidentally publish them and then look, it's like, oh, I should have caught that. Why did I not run it through a grammar checker? So yes, that is my process.
All right, great. One last question before I'm done with you, Alexandra. We have a question in the comments. Somebody saying, what should come first? Just commenting the code while writing or checking out standard guide for such language in writing? I don't know if that question is really explaining itself. Okay, I guess the person is talking about when you're documenting, do you comment in the code first, or do you like write the documentation out, or how do you document your code, for example?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think it matters. I think that you should do what's best for you. What matters, the final product matters. So how you get there, if that's writing comments while you're coding to remember, oh, I created this function and it relies on these pieces of information. An example is we have this code called Google Publisher Tag, and there's a line of code that needs to be in a very specific order to match Google Ad Manager's UI. Why it was built that way, I don't know. Probably a bad idea. I'm not a developer on the team. What do I know? But if you're a person who needs to use that code, you need to know it needs to be in a specific order. So a code comment there, super important, critical. But if you decide to write that down in a different document first, or if you don't write comments and you just write it all in a separate document, that's okay too. Whatever is best for you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're having our last question for Gideon. Gideon, somebody's asking, must we give positive feedbacks? How about negative ones?
Yes. Yeah. So, in my opinion, yeah, I think yes, there are negative feedback, but feedbacks we can either work on them to become better or just forget about them. So when someone gives us negative feedback, we work on them to become positive.
Okay.
Yeah, so we work on negative feedback. Hey, I think you're bad at grammar. It's a negative feedback to you, but when you pick that feedback, then work on it to become better at grammar, it becomes positive.
All right. So in essence, we are saying that if you're putting out a form or a link or a document for feedback, you should have a section for negative feedbacks, or we should not have. I need positive feedback alone, or I need just negative alone, or do we mix the two? How do we comprehend this?
We don't need to divide them into sections, positive and negative. Just write feedback. When you write feedback, people will tell you everything they think about what you are doing. You understand? So it can, to you it can come as negative, but to them it feels like they want to help you become better, which makes it positive.
I get the idea now. So at the end of the day, everything is positive.
Everything is positive.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. So I think we don't have any other questions. Do you have any other questions from anybody? You can drop it on the comment section. If we don't have any other question, do you have any question? Anybody you want to unmute? You want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question.
All right.
Alex, your question is for you. Do you have anything to tell us on the summer of code? Because I saw online that we're having the summer of code for technical writers. Yay! So would you like to talk about that?
the documentation, summer of documentation, or season of documentation.
Oh yeah, season. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, it is totally based on Summer of Code, which is I'm so excited. I think it's great. This is this is our second year of Season of Docs. I think applications are still open. Let me validate that that's true.
Okay.
I'm not involved in it, unfortunately. Hopefully next year.
Okay.
But there's an opportunity for organizations and technical writers to pair up. Technical writers are paid for their work to help open source organizations get good documentation. Ooh, applications open up on June 9th for technical writers. So mark your calendar. The link I will share in the comments is developers.google.com/season of docs. It's a really, all the feedback from last year was positive, and if you have time and want to apply, I encourage it. And if you want, there are also technical writing classes, which require a facilitator, but there's a lot of good resources that we're providing. Take classes if you're a developer, learn more about technical writing. It's great.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, and also, if you want to, there's also a course. I found a course at developers.google.com. You can also check out the technical writing course that Alex tweeted. That's how I found you, Alex. That's how I found you.
All right. Okay, do you have any other questions from anybody? Or we call it a day? I think we don't have any other questions. All right, so I'll close. Oh, somebody say something. Hello everyone, I came later on if there will be something like this again. Yeah, we will get I think this is the series, so we will come up with more of this, so you just watch our space. I was about saying this is being engineered, or this is being pioneered by the Developer Student Club Sub-Saharan African ex-leads. So we came up with this initiative to have this series of meetups with diverse topics. We had one about tech communities and building personal skill. And we're going to have another one maybe on the 18th of June talking about the new Android version and how it applies to development and what Google has for us. We're going to have series of this. So just stay tuned and watch out for the hashtag, because we keep using that hashtag DSC SSA.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Okay, so this call is already recorded. So if you haven't sent your fill the form, registration form, get to send it at the comment section right now. So you can just fill it and I'll send you the video after the mail.
All right, so let's all fill the form. If you want to get, if we didn't fill the form before, if we got a direct link, because we'll be sending everybody the slides, we'll send everybody the helpful links, and we'll be sending you the recorded video as well. So one more time, is there any other question? Does anybody have any pressing issue that you want to voice out to anybody here?
Emotional support.
I have one question before we go, please. One question before we go. So people write documentation and technical stuff. So if I should ask, how can somebody earn a living? How can you earn a living from technical writing? Alexandra, can you help us on this?
How can you make a living from it?
Yeah.
Practice and apply for technical writing jobs. I think that's the best answer. The whole career.
Yeah.
So, and also, if you're not a full-time technical writer, you can also do customer support, which is another form of technical writing, but you talk to people if you want to talk to people. I don't.
Okay.
For all of you.
All right, so First of my impression or what I think or my ideology is that technical writing is something that everybody should have, a skill that everybody should have, because as a developer, your code is art. As a designer, your design is art. Um, as a backend developer, your API is all art, and then art is writing. And if you don't go with the flow, with the vibe, with the feeling of you making something and making an art out of what you're doing, you can't really get the vibe of technical writing, because technical writing is explaining a particular concept and making sure that the audience understand and then are on the same page with you. So I think technical writing is something that everybody should, same way everybody is learning how to use Git, how to use Figma, everybody should learn how to do technical writing as well, because it's really helpful. You start your own blog, you could, as we have heard, we could start a career in technical writing, could do whole lot. And one more thing, I would love to say that I found out over time that people that do developers who write who have blogs and do technical writing, they have more, they have a kind of a bigger CV than those who does do the on-site jobs. So I would rather hire somebody that talks about Node.js and hire somebody that knows Node.js, because you talking about Node.js, that means you understand the concepts and you understand all the fundamentals before you can go out teaching somebody else. So I actually trust you more because you write than trust somebody that does build. I don't know if you get the point. So that's why I said technical writing should be something for everybody. Somebody asked me in the comment section about UX, UI, UX. Question is not actually clear.
Yeah. You just check the link to the slides to get to know more about AI UX for our talk today on the UX of me. I think that's what it's talking about.
Yeah.
I just shared the slides to you. So it's already past 2.
Yeah. So let's not beat our time.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for coming.
Time.
Thank you everybody for coming. We'd love to have this some other time. Thank you, Alexandra.
All right,
you.
you guys are awesome. Thanks for coming.
Shout out
Thanks,
to you.
Alex. Yo, peace out.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Gideon. Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.